So for this lecture, we'll be talking about absolute value, okay? So big picture, here are the prereqs you need. You need to know how number lines work. You need to know how compound inequalities work, and all of the prereqs for that guy, okay? So let's talk about absolute value. What is an absolute value? Very loosely speaking, you can view absolute value as distance from 0, okay? Okay, so as I said, we can think of absolute value as the distance from 0. This is a 0. I know it looks like an empty set. That's how I write my zeros, my bad, dude. You'll figure out the difference as you go along, I think. And so, once you kind of get the idea of it, right, it makes a lot of sense. If absolute value is the distance from 0, you can't have a distance that's negative, yeah? So, for example, let's say the absolute value of 4. How far is 4 from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? If you do the little hop method, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. And what if you asked the absolute value of -4, right? Well, -4 lives here, -3, -2, -1, right? You do the same thing. Let's do it in green. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's also 4, okay? Reasonable. And so when you have a question like, oh, the absolute value of x is equal to 7, what does x equal, right? Well, we know that x can be positive 7 for sure, or it can also equal -7, right? For the same reason. And now, what if I ask, if the absolute value of some number is equal to -3, what could x be? Joke's on all of us, doesn't exist. Because distance can't be negative. So you can't have an absolute value that spits out a negative. Sounds reasonable to me. We can do problems like problem number, let's say 9, right? Problem number 9, and I'm going to have you guys send your solutions to Gradescope as well, okay? So for problem number 9, it is the absolute value of x plus 5 is equal to 11, okay? We'll work this one out together. If this is the case, right, again, we can treat it exactly like a standard equation, right? If we subtract 5 on both sides, right, we get the absolute value by itself. We get x is equal to 6. Cool. Well, we know that 6 is a positive number, which means, well, it means you can find a distance, yeah? This is a valid distance. So you get x can equal -6, or we can get x equals +6. And that's it. What if I gave you something a little harder? What if I gave you, let's do number 10. The absolute value of x minus 3 is equal to 20, right? I'm going to have you guys work this one out by yourself and send it to Gradescope, all right? And that's kind of it for absolute value equations. Or is it? What if we look at problem number 21, right? Let's work this one out together. The absolute value of 3x minus 4, this whole thing is covered by the absolute value, okay? Is equal to 8. Well, we know that whatever this inside is, right, it can equal +8 or -8, right? It's the same as this thing here, or sorry, as this thing up here, right? So you can actually split this. You know that the inside can equal +8, or it can equal -8, right? And then you work it out like a standard linear equation. Add 4 to both sides, divide by 3. Same one here. You add 4 to both sides, divide by 3. And these are your two solutions. what I'm going to have you guys do is I'm going to have you do number 24 and 25 and send it to Gradescope. Okay? Should be pretty easy, right? Again, the idea is whatever is inside can equal the positive or negative version of this once you have only a number on one side. Okay? And then you can do some really interesting stuff with exponential functions and stuff like that, but that's a problem for later. Alright? Okay. I want you guys as well to do numbers 26 and 30. Okay? Send it straight over to Gradescope.